Welcome back to Movies TV Mad, and a very warm welcome to Thursday's edition of the DCU Daily, and welcome to my review of Superman. I don't want movies to be bad. I don't want movies to fail. That's not how I swing. But I can only react to the sludge, greatness, and goodness that I consume. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be positive about something that's a pitiful fucking disgrace. And this Superman movie is a pitiful fucking disgrace. And that's how I'm going to fucking review it. I'm a lifelong Superman fan. I was introduced to him via Superman 78, directed by Dick Donner and written by the genius who was Tom Mankiewicz, rewritten by him, and they made an amazing movie. That's how I was introduced to Superman. Lifelong Superman fan. And everything that I've seen in terms of Superman prior to James Gunn's Superman, I can accept as having some great moments of great Superman goodness. I can't accept that with this new iteration of my favourite character in fiction. Can someone go and get me a dictionary, please? I need a fucking dictionary now! Because I want to explain to James Gunn the meaning of the word super. Because super means super! I'm super! Superman! He's super. He's super strong, he's super good, he's super amazing. James Gunn, you do not understand the meaning of the word super because basically Superman is rarely super in your fucking movie, in your fucking sludge fest. You've got him constantly getting beaten up and having to recuperate from being beaten up. There's even one moment where he gets kicked in the crown fucking jewels. What's that bit again? I'm trying to remember that bit when he's been beaten up again. And is it Guy Gardner or Mr. Terrific telling him, come on, Superman? And he's going, I'm busy. I've got important stuff to do. It's supposed to be a gag, and he just falls to the floor again. It's another James Gunnerism. Is it, what should we call it? James Gunnerism? Yeah. There's so many James Gunnerisms in this movie. It's so bad. And it's sad, you know, because the man has made really good cinematic fare. No, I'm not saying he's a great cinematic director or anything, but he's done okay movies. I think The Suicide Squad is the best movie, the best thing he ever did. And I think Peacemaker had some wonderful, serious moments. I thought that had some excellent moments in it. But Superman is nowhere near Gunn's best work, and we have to ask why. This is a film that hates and despises Superman. For the first half of the movie, we have Lois Lane berating Superman. And when he dares to get up from that horrible fucking boring long interview, what, you're leaving? Yes, hun, I'm leaving. The first half of this movie, you would be excused to thinking that actually Lois Lane hates Clark and Superman. And as we get to the middle of the movie, they decide that she actually loves him. But by that moment, it's too little, too fucking late. This movie doesn't have a beginning. It doesn't. We have 3 years ago this happened, and 300 years ago that happened. I'm paraphrasing, of course, right? Because this film, it's bad enough this film is not an origin story, and I think it needed to be an origin story. But this film is soaked in creative bankruptcy. It is soaked in creative fucking laziness. We are in the era of creative fucking laziness. And that's why I say to you, all the reviews, the positive reviews you're reading, you can take as nothing. They're lies. They're fraudulent, right? The initial reactions, the embargo lifted reactions, bullshit. They're not important. They mean fucking nothing because they're liars. And today, here on this review, I am telling you my fucking truth. I am not lying to you. This is how I feel. As I've said to you, I'm a lifelong Superman fan. I wanted this movie to be great. Even though Gunn has an ego this big and he was the last guy I wanted to write and direct a Superman movie, if he made something that made me proud, again to be a Superman fan, then I would have loved him for it. But he didn't fucking do that. This film, as I say, hasn't a beginning. It kind of leaps into its own kind of third act and everything's happening and it has no time for us to get to know Clark Kent or Superman. The wonderful thing about the origin story in Superman 78, you felt like you knew the guy, his struggles. The second part of the film is in Smallville after he's sent as a baby from Krypto, and you feel his struggles. When Brad the bully tells him, pick this up, Clark, you're not coming with me and Lana, you're in the car, right? You see the frustration. But he's not angry. He's not angry in the sense as in this film. He's constantly angry and shouting in this film. That's not fucking Superman, and that's not the Clark Kent who was like a friend to me growing up. But in Superman 78, in the Smallville sequence, when he kicks the football out of frustration and he runs after the train out of frustration to kind of show himself who he really is. And it's brilliant. And when his father's lecturing him about being here for a reason and how he's got to be careful about showing people what he can do. And Clark's saying, yeah, but a bird shows off when it can fly, right? If, a bird flies, so it flies. But, birds are one thing and you're something else, Clark. So you see the guy's frustrations and then his father dies, right? And his biological father saying to him, you can't interfere in human history. It's a great arc and it's a great through line that takes you to the moment that Lois Lane dies and Superman breaks his own father's rules. That's when he becomes his own man, and it's fucking brilliant. This film is not interested in telling you a Superman story. And by the way, if you see me looking here from time to time, it's because I've written a list of stuff I want to talk about. So that's what I'm doing when I'm looking over there. So I'm not drunk, I'm not hungover or anything like that. But yeah, this film hasn't got enough time to give Superman its moment. But it's got plenty of time to give Guy Gardner a moment, Mr. Terrific a moment, and every other fucking character in this overstuffed fucking movie. But not Superman. So it's clear the writer-director of this film hates Superman. This is a movie that hates Superman. His girlfriend constantly berating him constantly getting beaten up. So why is he constantly getting beaten up in this film? Because this is how Gunn felt like writing a relatable Superman. That's not how you write a relatable Superman, you lazy hack. You take a character and you analyze the character and you write. The thing with Superman, when Superman works in live action media, is when you give him emotional obstacles like Smallville did, like Superman 78 did, like Superman 2 did when he gave up his powers to be with Lois. That's brilliant. And Superman 3 really doesn't have an emotional obstacle for Superman, really, but I kind of enjoyed that movie. It's not as good as the first two. But yeah, I forgive that movie, it's okay. But mostly, the Superman live action media we've seen, the Dean Cain show, gave Superman emotional obstacles in the sense of his relationship with Lois Lane. As I say, Smallville, it was the Smallville thing to give Clark emotional obstacles. So yes, he is an alien, he is a god, he is super powered, but his mentality, his mindset is human, not Kryptonian, because he was raised by human beings. I have Greek Cypriot DNA. My parents were Greek Cypriot, but I was raised and born in the United Kingdom, and I spent a few years in Hollywood, California. So my mindset is mostly English, British, and a little bit American, LA as well. You're going to have to forgive me for that as well. Because a child's mind, it soaks everything up, right? Its environment up. And that's why Clark and Superman have a human mentality. That's why he wants to protect human beings. He was taught by the Kents to be a good person and use his powers for good. And to be careful when he's using his powers. He's the hero he is because of the Kents. So this film hasn't got any time to make a Superman story, to create a Superman story, to give Superman any moment or moments, right? This film, by the end of it, feels like, any Quantum Leap fans out there, Al and Sam used to go on about Sam's Swiss cheese brain every time he leaps. He forgets what's happened before. This is how I felt by the end of Superman. I felt something's missing. And it fucking is. The 20 to 30 minutes they cut from this film. God knows if that would have made this film better or worse. That this film doesn't actually have a story. And the reason they made the mistake of making Lex Luthor the main villain in this movie is to make him a Trump parody. He has mutant monkeys that are putting out fake propaganda and lies because James Gunn wants to talk about anti-James Gunn fans who put out anti-propaganda about him. He wants to talk about Trump because the only two things they care about, right, in LA and Hollywood are strong woman, Trump, 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 Trump. That's all they care about. It's bad enough that they're parody filmmakers and parody creators and parody fucking actors, but they're making parody fucking movies. Because this, my friends, and make no mistake about it, is a parody Superman movie. And Superman isn't done well, he's done dirty. The better characters are done better because he's good at that. The characters he's added in this film, the supporting metahumans, are the kind of characters he's used to writing. This is why he should never have been allowed to come anywhere near Superman. This movie is a bad joke. It's a mess. It's just all over the place. And, that is a genuine critique as far as I'm concerned. So basically, that's the reason Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor is the main villain, because they wanted to have the Trump conversation again. They wanted to have the whole thing of him spreading lies and propaganda. What about the lies and propaganda that Hollywood spread? Now, is it Tom Taylor, the comic book writer, was trying to defend this movie by saying, we live in a world of bad people. Yes, we do, Tom. Yeah, there's a lot of bad people who write comics. There's a lot of bad people who work in entertainment, who abuse children, rape women, harass women, and even have committed some murders. I'm sure a lot of Hollywood individuals are on a certain list as well. So how dare any of you lecture us, the public, who are much better people, who give to charity, charities that need it. Now, I have no issue with the transgender community, but I don't think that they're right charities to be giving money to. That's the only thing rich people do today. They don't give money to the people who need it. Like in Palestine, well, they wouldn't be giving the Palestinians any money, and we all know why that is, don't we? And of course, we have an undercurrent of the Israel-Palestine dispute in this movie. Is it done well? Of course not. It's lazy. It's all lazy. Let's go back to that interview between Lois and Superman. And I think this is the moment where you kind of see where Gunn was trying to go with Lois Lane. She's not likable in the first half of the movie. Nothing to do with the actress. And I've warned about this many times. If you get carried away with Lois Lane, you will make her unlikable. Lois Lane isn't a man-hater, isn't isn't a feminist. Lois Lane became a journalist because she cares about the world she lives in and wants to expose corruption. That's who she is. She wouldn't be spending her time berating her boyfriend, a superhero who happens to be the only person who's not owned by a fucking corporate entity and the only person who's trying to do right. Did you ask the president first? No, I fucking didn't, hun. I was too busy trying to stop a fucking war and trying to help people, right? But let's make no mistake, James Gunn is woke. He is part of the extreme left community and he's a male feminist. I read something from the broadsheets today before I started recording this. Now, David Corenswet and James Gunn were bragging how James Gunn would tell David Corenswet, who was asking a lot of questions on the sound stages, about the film. Probably because he had as many problems with his fucking script as we did. And Gunn would tell him to shut the fuck up. And they were bragging that, David took this, in his stride. Unlike some other sensitive actors and actresses. And if you are oversensitive, you should not be working in our game. Because everyone, most of the people directing you and in charge of this industry are fucking wankers. And being overly sensitive, I think overly sensitive people are fine. I love them. I love people who are sensitive and have feelings and care about the world they live in. So basically, Gunn's saying, I'm making a film about human kindness, but I'm not humanly kind, right? Because you shouldn't be telling your actor to shut the fuck up. Because I'm an amateur actor-director. You know that I've got an amateur dramatic society, that I'm writing my own movies. My actors ask me questions all the time. I never tell them to shut up. They criticise my scripts or my story ideas. I explain things to them. If we can come up with something better together, we will. There's no need to tell someone to shut the fuck up. And them bragging that this is a good thing tells you everything you need to know about this toxic industry, but they're too busy calling the fans out for being toxic. This movie starts off with the battle of, the Hammer of Baravia kicking the shit out of Superman. As I said, Superman is constantly bruised and battled in this movie. What about Krypto? This is not a good adaptation of Krypto the Superdog. Even if you're someone who thinks Krypto shouldn't be in this movie, I never felt that way. I think there is a place for a Krypto the Superdog in a movie, in a Superman movie. But this isn't a good adaptation. He doesn't really look like Krypto. He's not the right design. He's not the right size. And he doesn't even behave how Krypto behaves in the comics, even though the Shields are saying this film is like you're ripping the pages from a comic. Bollocks. That's nonsense. Krypto becomes a petty fucking annoyance. And he's not the only fucking dog in this movie. By the way, Gunn is obsessed with animals, and that's fine. I love animals too. But I ain't gonna fucking inject myself in a Superman movie just because I love fucking animals. I love women in bikinis. It doesn't mean I'm gonna make a fucking movie about women in bikinis. And what about, because this is no secret now, that Supergirl appears in this movie as a fucking drunk. Sorority Supergirl, if you like. Now, I know Hollywood men like young, drunk girls under the influence, and we all know why, don't we, right? But there's no need to foreshadow that kind of behaviour in your fucking movie. What about the VFX of this movie? The VFX in this movie is the worst VFX I've ever seen in a Superman movie. It has some good moments, but it's not good, everyone. Look, we can't pretend. The flying is awful. He claimed he fixed that scene with Superman flying. I don't see the fix. It's fucking embarrassing that he didn't cut that sequence out. It's embarrassing he shot that sequence and created that sequence at the very beginning. Superman has never been photographed, and I've mentioned this in other videos, hasn't been photographed as badly as he has been photographed in this movie. Superman, in every other live action depiction, has majesty, is shot with majesty, is choreographed with majesty. The cinematography is not very good in this movie, considering it's the same cinematographer that they use, I nearly said Gunn used in The Flash, because I think he did Ghost write and direct a version of this movie, probably the version we fucking saw, and that's why it's so bad. Excuse me. But yeah, so it's not a good looking film. It's not. Let's just say that out loud and proud. This is not a good looking film. Is this a film that ultimately celebrates Superman? No. It celebrates Lois Lane, it celebrates Mr. Terrific, it celebrates Guy Gardner far better than it celebrates Superman. So why is this film called Superman? They were using Superman's good name to launch this movie, but it goes much deeper than that, everyone. As I explained to you several months ago, this is just part of the continuing plan to bury the Snyderverse. They tried it with the Bergs and Johns era. They tried it with the Hamadaverse. And now they're trying the same tactics with the Gunverse, the DCU. And this time, it's an even bigger disaster. A fake movie and streaming slate, which most of the projects that were never going to happen, they knew they were never going to happen, ain't happening. He's apparently got a secret writer writing Brave and the Bold, a movie I said that would never happen. That's interesting. He's aligning himself and talking, claiming he's talking to really prominent directors. This whole situation is an utter mess, and it comes from the motivation of trying to bury the Snyderverse, because like it or not, Man of Steel almost made 700 million. Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice made just under 900 million, and Zack Snyder's Justice League broke streaming records, even though they buried the stats on that streaming movie. Very popular. Henry Cavill is a very popular Superman, and their biggest mistake was pretending they were bringing him back as Superman and then firing him. It was a huge mistake. There's other issues with this movie. There was a lot of controversy in Man of Steel for Superman breaking Zod's neck. It's not like I don't get that. I thought killing off Zod was dumb, because I would have liked to have seen him in a Man of Steel sequel, because I think Zod was a very interesting villain, and you don't kill off your best villains. That's why they never kill off the Master in Doctor Who. He's iconic, he's interesting, and he's the Doctor's frenemy. So you don't kill off your best villains, right? But in this movie, Superman snaps Ultraman's hand, arm. I can't even remember now, right? What is it, a week or two since I've seen this movie? Yes, I was going to watch it again, but I was sitting there and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, do I really want to waste my fucking money? The idea was to refresh my memory, but I thought, fuck it, I don't want to give these bastards any money anyway. So I've seen the movie now. I'm going to spend my time in the next few days watching Man of Steel. I plan on watching Man of Steel tomorrow when this atrocity is released, and it is an atrocity. I will never ever understand an era of fandom that gave Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman especially, the thumbs down, while the same thumbs up and thumbs down Rotten Eggs or Rotten Tomatoes culture, gave this film, approval. And I don't understand why. And it shows you how utterly corrupt the system is. For example, yesterday they announced that the fan tomato meter was red hot. But hang on a minute, yesterday was fucking Wednesday. So you're telling me that the fans who went to the Amazon screenings were allowed to vote for this movie before the real public got to see this movie, which means that fanometer or whatever it fucking is isn't a real reading of fan opinion yet, because the ordinary general audience and Superman fans haven't actually had an opportunity to see this movie, because it's not released till today in some countries, and for the rest of the world, tomorrow on Friday. So it's all utter bullshit. This is not a good Superman film. It's the worst comic book movie James Gunn has ever made. And I have no idea how much money this film's going to make, but this film is an utter fucking disgrace. And my advice to you is, save your money. Is David Corenswet a great Superman? No. Not because of David, because of James Gunn. Because of James and his script and the way he directed him and the way he wanted to mock Superman. Let's be absolutely clear. This is a man who hates straight white males, and he wants to embarrass them at any opportunity. That's their politics. They hate legacy characters like Superman. They hate iconic straight white males, right? And here's the truth. I don't know if David had a proper costume that made him look as big as he is, because he worked out. I don't think his body is as ripped as Henry Cavill's was, but he worked really hard, and we saw that on social media. This suit doesn't show that. But when I look at Christopher Reeve and Henry Cavill, I see screen presence. I see a Superman. With David Corenswet, I don't see that. As for the rest of the cast, Rachel Brosnahan and everybody else, you tried your best. You did a good job. You were working with substandard material.